Talking about rocking on, we've got Harry the Peacock. He's going to tell us a great yarn. He's our Ipswich historian about the great kangaroo fight of 1895. Come in there. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Danny. How you going?
H, good, mate. So this is about kangaroos, actual things that hop.
Well, that's right. Well, hop and fight. I tell you, there's been big fighters over the years.
All right. Well, let's hear this story, because I do know they can stand up to you and lean on that tail and can get pretty aggressive.
Absolutely. And there have been some great, aggressive and famous fighters over the years, Danny, because, for example, there was Ronaldo, the boxing kangaroo, at Lone Pine in Brisbane. Now, in 1937, he sparred with the great Springbok scrum half, Danny Craven. But more famous was Ozzy, the heavyweight boxing kangaroo from Adelaide. He weighed 13 stone, had a reach of 4 feet, and he twice knocked out his owner. Now, in 1928, Ozzy came to fight in Brisbane and Toowoomba, and then got offers to fight in Europe. And in 1929, he arrived in England and trained in London's East End. Now, after 9 years as a professional boxer, Ozzy retired to the London Zoo in 1937 after he contracted arthritis in his tail.
No.
But as famous as Ozzy and his exploits in England were, Danny, what I believe to be the greatest kangaroo fight of all time happened right here in Ipswich at the end of 1894. Now, one of the combatants was 51-year-old Robert Bennett. Now, he lived in Thorn Street here in Ipswich. Now, he grew up in Tandragee Castle in County Armagh in Northern Ireland, where his father worked on the estate of the 8th Duke of Manchester. Now, coming out here to Ipswich, his brother lived until he was 90 years old and his mother to 96. So Bennett was made of tough stuff. Now, on the morning of Tuesday, the 31st of December, 1894, Robert Bennett was driving a cow near the intersection of Warwick Road and Short Street. That's when he was confronted by a full-grown old man kangaroo. Now, the cow refused to go on, and so Bennett advanced with the purpose of, hunting the old man kangaroo away. But the kangaroo was not amenable to persuasion, Danny, and seemed to resent Bennett's approach. So, in short, it straight away went for him, and a serious street brawl broke out. The kangaroo with the pugnacity worthy of the world's greatest fighters bustled its human opponent in the most aggressive boxing fashion, Danny, and knocked Bennett to the ground. But the kangaroo had evidently not mastered what was considered back then the principles of British fair play, because it then started to bite, kick, hit, scratch its prostrate antagonist. Now, Bennett defended himself by grabbing the kangaroo's front paws, and the two continued to roll around on the ground for some time. The kangaroo, look, they said he had a crowd around it. The kangaroo probably would have completely gutted Bennett had it not been for the fact that he wore a heavy leather belt. Now, it got in major slashes with its hind claws, but the belt stopped any serious damage happening. Bennett was still severely scratched all up and down the chest and the stomach. Now, indeed, Bennett was getting soundly beaten when a young lady came by and, seeing his predicament, caught the kangaroo by the tail with Danny, which allowed Bennett to roll out of the kangaroo's clutches. Now, Bennett then returned to the attack with renewed vigour, and having caught the kangaroo by the scruff of the neck, allowed the young lady to let go of the tail. Now, at this stage, some children living in the neighbourhood yelled at the kangaroo, at which point it nonchalantly stopped fighting and hopped away. So Bennett never lived to the great age of his brother and mother, but in 1918, aged just 74, he passed away at his home in Thorn Street, which was just around the corner from what must be, Daddy, the most exciting kangaroo fight in world history.
Mate,
here at Ipswich.
You really know how to tell a story. I was told when the kangaroo was punching him, he was yelling out, "Pouch, pouch." Now, what a great yarn, historyouthere.com.au. Where do you
just .com. It's historyouthere.com. We'll train you up.
Where do you find these stories?
Well, look, it's just reading in the history of Ipswich and the Queensland Times and other papers, and then looking at the National Archives and the birth, deaths, and marriages. There's so much history in Ipswich that you could read forever. And I've got like a couple of hundred short stories on historyouthere.com for you to read as well.
Mate, honestly, your stories are engaging, informative, and entertaining, and you know how to tell a good yarn. And that's part of being a good Aussie, is telling a good yarn. Mate, it's a pleasure to have you on.
Especially a kangaroo yarn, right there on Thorn Street.
Yeah, well, I've got to hop off now. But look, really, truly appreciate your time on this great... We're number one digital radio station in Ipswich at this time, and you're part of it. Thank you, Harold the H. Peacock with historyouthere.com on West Bremer Radio.